Hello everyone and welcome back. On the screencast today we have multiplication and we have the lattice method. And I can hear some people moaning and some people groaning. But don't moan and groan. The multiplication lattice method is amazing. It's one of the most powerful tools that I've ever learned when I'm teaching. It does take a little bit of time to set up. So what is it for a start? If you don't know what the lattice multiplication method is, then this is what it is. It's an easy way to do long multiplication. It does take some time to set up, but once it's done, it's so easy. It's so easy. You're always working with single digit numbers. Very, I'm looking at these pictures and I can't remember why I put a piece of cake. I think, it's because it's a piece of cake. That's how easy it is. And it takes some time. A thumbs up because it's not difficult. It's not difficult. It takes some time, but once you set it up. This is the setup here that we can see. If you've never done it before, I'm going to go through it nice and slow. If you've done it before, this is a little reminder for you. So this is the setup. Here's our question here, 25 times 12. What we do is we place in our little squares 25 timesing by 12 like this. Now, the only thing that you really need to add in your books, because you should be having little squares in your books, is these additional lines. And it's very important that we get these lines correct and that they go through the corners of the squares. If you can do that, then this is going to be great. If you can't do that, it becomes really messy and difficult. And that's what we've got to get across here. We've got to get across that you've got to do things right to get it right. The other thing I'd highly recommend is to use two different coloured pens. There's a very good reason for this. One for your working and one for your setting out, or one for your setting out and one for your working. So you're going to see here that I'm going to use two different colours. I've got my blue pen. I've got, I think it's a red pen, I think, that I'm going to work with here with my working or my setting out, you might say. And then I've got for my answers, I changed colour again. And that's important because you can see what you're carrying over. But let's just go through the process. So very simply, I start by saying, okay, what is 1 times 5? 1 times 5 is 5. So what I do is I put a 0 in the top of that. Yeah, can we see that each box is split into 2 and a 5 at the bottom? Now, don't worry about doing anything else at the moment. Just stick with me. The next one is 1 times 2. What's that? It's 2. So I'll put a 0 in the top and a 2 in the bottom. Now, let's move on. We're going to go 2 times 5. That is 10. So what I do, rather than putting 0 at the top, I put a 1 at the top because it's a 10 and a 0 at the bottom. So we can see now what that column is for, can't we? Okay. And the last one, 2 times 2 is 4. So I put a 0 in the top and a 4 in the bottom. Now, believe it or not, we're almost finished. All we've got to do is we've got to add up the values in each column. So can you see here that I've got a column here? Now, I could have drawn another little line here. This is a column. What's in this column? Just one number, which is 0. So I put 0. On this one, I've got 5 plus 1 plus 4. What does that equal? That equals 10. Now, just like normally, I'm going to carry over into the next column. So a 0 is going to go here, but my 1 is going to go here. And I'm always going to write it correctly. So I'm going to write 10 like that, because I've got 10, don't I? The next one, I've got 0 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1. So what does that give me? That gives me 3. And I've got nothing in this column. So my answer is 300. And I put that either there or there, wherever it's going to fit. That is what we do. Now, it does take a little bit of time to set out, as you know, and you could possibly do it faster using traditional methods. But I promise you, this works for any multiplication. It works for decimals. It works for 5 digits timesing by 5 digits, and you're only ever timesing in reality 1 digit by 1 digit. So as long as you know your 10 times table, this is amazing. So please, it's well worth the setup time. So I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to ask you to do the next ones, and then obviously the quiz. So let's set this out. So I've got 135 on the top, timesing by 242 down the side. I'm going to start with 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10, so I put a 1 in the top and a 0 in the bottom. 2 times 3 is 6, so a 0 in the top, a 6 in the bottom. 2 times 1 is 2, so I'll put a 0 in the top and a 2 in the bottom. Now the next one is 5 times 4. That's 20, isn't it? So I'm going to go 2 in the top and a 0 in the bottom because that says 20. Then we've got 3 times 4, which is 12. 1 in the top, 2 in the bottom. 1 times 4 is 4, so we put a 0 there and a 4 there. Then we've got 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 1 is 2. So you can see what I've done there. Now, this is where the fun really starts. You know, we've actually done all the easy stuff. Now we've just got to carry things over. So we're going to go and say, well, we've got 0 here. So we put a 0 there. I've got 0 plus 1 plus 6. Well, that's 7. So I put a 7 in there. I've got 0 plus 2 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2. Well, I can see I've got 6 there. Now I've got 10 plus 2, that's 12. So remember, I put my 1 there and my 2 there. And I've got a 0 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1, which gives me 3, and that goes there. And obviously just got a 0 in that column. So my answer is 3,200. It's not. It's 32,670. That's quite a big. Well, that's quite a big number, and that would be really tough to do using traditional methods. But you can see it's no more difficult using the lattice method, and that's why I love it so much. So now we are looking at 2 examples before we move into the quiz. Please, I would like you to pause the video now. I would like you to give these both a go and then come back and see if you've got them correct. So first up, we have 26 timesing by 14. So let's do that now. I've got 6 times 1, which gives me 6. I've got 2 times 1, or 1 times 2, which gives me 2. And we can see what we're doing there. We've got 4 times 6, which is 24. And 4 times 2, which is 8. Now I'm going to add up my columns. So I've got 4 in the bottom one there. I've got 6 plus 2, that's 8, plus 8, that's 16. So I carry over the 1 and I put in the 6 there. Then I've got 2 plus the 1, which is 3. So my first answer is 364. And that goes up there, wherever it goes. Okay. Next up, we've got 5 times 2, which gives us 10. 5 times 4, which gives us 20. And as we do these, you should be ticking these off. You have done that right, done that right, done that right, which is good. 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 2 is 8. So bang that into those columns. 4 times 4 is 16. So we bang that there. 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. And last but not least, we've got our 2 times 3, which is 6. We're almost there, everyone. So we're going to count up the columns now. So I've got 4 in the first column. I've got 16 in the next column, so I just make sure I carry that over. I've got 6 plus 6 plus 7, which gives me 13. And then I've got my 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And then I'm not quite finished off, am I? I've got 8 there, and I do have 1 in the top one as well. And you can see your answer there, and it's a huge answer, isn't it? And that would be very tough in traditional maths. But we have there 1, 8, 5, 3, 6, 4. Just shows that you can do any number as long as you take the time to set it out correctly. All right, everyone, you've got 3 more to finish off on. Pause the video, give these a go, set them out yourself, do the whole thing yourself, then come back and see if you've got them correct. Away we go now. Hopefully you've had some time to do those. Here goes all of my answers there. I've got 456, 1056, and I've got there 40,796 to finish. If you've got anything wrong now, you might have noticed I've carried over in different spots here. That's just something that I sometimes change, but I wanted to show you the other way. Please make sure you do it consistently throughout. Make sure that you have done a really good job. You probably don't need to write three questions. You just need to write one question, maybe two, maybe one really easy one, one more difficult one. But other than that, you'll be fine. And as I always say, do something today your future self is going to thank you for. Until next time, it's been a real pleasure helping you with your maths today. This is an important one. If we can multiply well, divide well, add and subtract, there's so much of maths becomes so easy. Well done. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening.